What are the advantages and disadvantages to radio advertising? This is very important because there is no perfect advertising medium. They've all got their strengths and their weaknesses. But when you know the strengths and weaknesses, you can leverage them both. You can minimize the weaknesses and leverage the strengths and get the most out of your advertising. And for radio, we'll go over that next. By the end of this video, hopefully you'll see the strengths and the weaknesses for radio. I'll show you some right ways and some wrong ways to use radio, and you'll see how radio fits beautifully into a media mix. So let's get started. Now remember, the existence of weaknesses doesn't rule them out. It just means it just doesn't do a few things well. But if you can minimize them and put the spotlight on the strengths, you've got some very, very powerful advertising. Some of the things about radio that really, really work well are, number one, it's known as an intrusive media. What does that mean, intrusive media? Well, basically, you can't run from it. If you're in the room and the radio's on and the commercial starts to play, you're going to hear it. It's going to intrude into whatever you're doing. It's always playing, it's always there, and basically you just can't shut off your ears at any given time. You would have to physically leave or go turn off the radio. It's an intrusive media. Unlike print, if there's a newspaper nearby, if you have a magazine within arm's reach, I'm sure the newspaper and the magazine and even banner ads or something like that on your website that happens to be right in front of you, don't hear them, do you? You can pretty much ignore them. The newspaper, the magazine, they're full of ads, but you're not going to see them unless you go and open the magazine or the newspaper. Another great thing about radio is you can target an audience very, very specifically, I might add. Certain radio formats, in other words, what are they playing on the air? Is it news talk? Is it music? Whatever the case may be, whatever they're playing caters to or tends to pick up a specific type of listener. The demographics, yeah, you might be painting with a rather broad brush, but there's a lot of commonality when it comes to the people who are listening to that particular station. And if that happens to match the demographics of your typical buyer, that might be a really good place to start placing some ads for your store. So be sure to know your avatar backwards and forwards, and then start looking for the radio station that describes that avatar just as well, if not better, than you and your own customers. That match is going to be made in heaven. Two things to consider are reach and frequency. How many people are going to hear your ad at any given time? That's reach. And frequency as how many times will they hear it in a given period. Typically within a week is what the measurement is, over the course of a week. Now, reach is what a lot of radio stations will quote saying they're number one in the market. In other words, there are 54,000 people who listen at any given time. That could be reach, or the other way they could describe it is cume. C-U-M-E, cume as in cumulative. The cumulative number of listeners, individual listeners, throughout a given week. Frequency plays into another strength of radio, and that is repetition. For example, if somebody is listening longer, if somebody is going to stick with a radio station and you're advertising on it, chances are their frequency, how many times they hear your ad, will go up because they're not punching buttons and bouncing around the dial. If they're staying at that radio station, then chances are they're going to hear your ad over and over and over again, and that is the repetition. We want high numbers in both of those categories. Radio is very cost effective, especially when you're talking about reaching large groups of people. Nowhere, I mean, when you start talking about cost per mil or cost per thousand, however you want, the CPM, however you want to get it, radio is consistently lower and lower and lower across the board, whether it's TV, print, online, you name it. CPM is very, very effective with radio advertising. I mentioned in another video earlier, you might want to go check that one out, immediacy. There's an immediacy with radio. Many people, and this is another major survey that comes out from the RAB, the Radio Advertising Bureau, the RAB will ask one of these questions every single year. How often have you heard an ad just before a purchase? They heard a grocery ad before going to the grocery store. They heard a boating ad right before they went to go check out some boats or a car or whatever it is that they were going to purchase, furniture, carpeting, whatever the case may be. Chances are they heard an ad for that product or service just before walking into the store. And that number, and I don't remember the number, please forgive me, but it's always high and it's always coming back year after year after year. The immediacy of radio and being able to also jump into, say, world events at the drop of a hat. The saying is, read about it in the newspaper tomorrow, see it tonight on TV, hear about it right now on the radio. There is an immediacy about radio, and many people will turn to radio first when something starts to happen in their world. That's the first place they go to, and radio is right there with them. The other benefit about radio ads is they are quickly produced, and if need be, hopefully not, corrected. Nobody's ever perfect, but what does it take to correct a TV ad? Well, depending on what it is, if it's a graphic, maybe that can be corrected fairly quickly, and hopefully the new version will air tomorrow on the air. Whereas with radio and with print, oh shoot. Maybe in tomorrow's issue, maybe next week's issue. And with magazines, maybe next month's issue it'll be corrected. If you're not advertising the following month, you'll at least get a little tiny mention, a correction just inside the first couple of pages, saying that last month we got it wrong. It's not exactly building goodwill. But with a radio ad, heaven forbid, something should be wrong, and if it's a crucial element, hopefully that was caught, even before, once it was written, before it was even produced. But hopefully, if there is something wrong and it is that crucial, there's a possibility that it could be corrected before the next time the ad plays. And that could be within an hour, 2 hours, maybe tomorrow. But suffice it to say, radio is very easily produced and corrected much easier than a lot of other things. My absolute favorite example about radio, and I love this to one of the strongest suits, is radio's theater of the mind. We always talk about, the barbecue, and you hear the steak sizzling on the grill, that little constantly going, and you just kind of start thinking about that, and your mouth starts to water, or you can hear the rev of the engine of the car, or something like that. Or my absolutely favorite example is something like with a TV ad. Let's say they wanted a TV ad, they wanted 1,000 dancing camels. Well, they're gonna do a drawing and then maybe CGI it and maybe take pictures of a real camel or whatever, but you still need a film crew, you need a camel, you need a camel wrangler, you need all this kind of stuff goes into that to make 1,000 dancing camels. But with a radio ad, I can sit there and go, 1,000 dancing camels, and I just did it. You see it in your mind's eye immediately with what's going on. Now, the other cool thing that I can talk about is, let's talk about this really great, let's say if you're in the market for a pickup truck, this fantastic truck, listen to this monster, and we play the engine going, man, doesn't that sound awesome? Isn't that the kind of truck you want to be seen in? Oh, by the way, you happen to be picturing your favorite color, and I'm talking about and picturing my favorite color. So whoever you're reaching, they can have their own interpretation as well and still be well within the parameters of what you're selling. In fact, they've already customized it before they even showed up to your store. And one of the other strongest elements in radio is the emotional connection, especially if you can tell a story. There is an emotional connection that we tell stories from an emotional level. And what better medium could there possibly be for advertising than telling a story and connecting with your listeners? Now, some of the cons, yes, radio's not perfect, but I love all the other reasons. But it does have a few shortcomings. For it to work effectively, you do need that repetition. That can take a little bit of a budget. There are a few things that you can do to tweak that, to hopefully get by on a minimal budget if you have to, but still achieve the repetition that you're looking for. Also, think of radio as a long-term investment. What I mean by that is, when you start, don't stop. You can ebb and flow with it, but please don't shut it off. One of the greatest strengths is giving your company the top of mind awareness in the marketplace. People hear about you all the time. They hear you. And after days, weeks, months, years of advertising, you're the default choice just because people know you. They've heard you for all this time, and they know, like, and trust you by now. Also, the ephemeralness of radio. Just like TV, once the ad is played, that's it, it's done, it's gone. Now, print or maybe online or anything like that, I can actually go back, open up the magazine, open up the newspaper, go back to that website and probably check out that ad and say, oh, that's right, I want to see some details, and I can refer to it again. Radio and TV, once it plays, it's gone. And of course, as a business owner, many people are very, very concerned with ROI, or return on investment. Lately, ROI with radio has gotten much, much better. There are other electronic behind the scenes things that you can do, whereas in the past, the best they could possibly do is say through a poll, hey, did you hear the ad on the radio? Yes. Okay, great. And that was the best they could talk about as far as reach and frequency was concerned. But now the technology is starting to catch up to radio, and radio reporting is getting better. It's still not great, but it is better. So if this is making sense to you, if you think this is making sense to your business, be sure to like and share and subscribe to our channel. We cover radio advertising. We cover anything audio, video that has to do with your marketing, whether it may be even a YouTube channel, or you're thinking about a YouTube channel, or maybe a podcast would be great for your particular business. Be sure to like and subscribe, and don't miss any of the tips or tricks that we give here to hopefully advance your business. There are a few wrong things that you can do with radio, and really quickly I'm going to just buzz through these because they should be pretty obvious once I start to describe them. Number one, radio is B2C, not B2B. It is a mass medium. When you want to reach a bunch of people, that's a very good choice. Radio is a very good choice. It's not a B2B thing. I've mentioned this before. There's a company that I know of that uses radio, and they sell conveyor belts. Not exactly a household item that you need, but they keep advertising on radio. Now, don't get me wrong. A great use for radio by that conveyor belt company would be when they're, say, at a job fair, or they've got a whole bunch of positions they want to hire for, or something like that. That's a great way to do it. But to actually sell conveyor belts, no, radio's not the way to go. I would advise them to invest that budget into their one-to-one, person-to-person sales. Radio has so many strengths, but it does have some gaps in its strengths. It does have some weaknesses. But when you combine it with maybe a print campaign, or maybe an online campaign, or you take radio to drive an online campaign, there's so much you can do with that. That'll blow your mind when you start to think about it. Radio becomes a perfect complement or anchor for other medium. It really is a versatile, flexible, very cost-effective medium to use by itself or in conjunction with other things. Now I have a free gift for you. The Complete Guide to Radio Advertising will walk you through and show you all the things you need to do to write an amazing ad for your company. None of this cliched stuff that we constantly hear on the radio, but you will definitely stand out above the competition if you follow these steps and then implement them in your next ad. So click the link, it's down below in the description, and get your copy of the Ultimate Radio Guide. I'm Nick Natarella. Thank you for watching.